The Elder Scrolls Online Gold Road has officially launched, and with it comes a brand new gameplay feature called Scribing, which, at its core, serves as a way to unlock and customize new combat skills for several of the existing skill lines. Today, we'll be going over the basics of the new scribing system, from how to start the questline, unlocking your first skill, customization, and much more. One thing to note is that scribing is not spellcrafting. Despite some similarities that it might share, instead, scribing is described as a precursor to the spellcrafting systems that we saw in the late Third Era, specifically in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind and Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. In this questline, we uncover what is a long-lost form of magic, tap into some of its origins, and learn how to harness that power for ourselves in order to create these brand new abilities. You will need the Gold Road chapter in order to access this feature. This video will have some minor story information for the earlier parts of the scribing questline, but I won't be going into much detail on the storyline itself. That way, you can safely avoid spoilers. However, I would like to make a more lore-focused video on scribing later on this year in case you might be interested in that. One thing to note is that scribing has its own full questline, completely independent of Gold Road's main story, essentially giving us more quest content in this chapter than we usually see for these annual releases. To get started, you'll need to go to the city of Skingrad, which serves as the main player hub for this year's chapter. Just outside the Mages Guild, you'll encounter Adept Ernard, who will ask for your aid and teleport you to the ancient ruin of Sunamir in the Somerset Isles. This kicks off the starter quest, the Second Era of Scribing. Here, you'll meet Votary Nalia of the Order of the Lamp, who serve as an order of knights for the Mages Guild. Together, you'll travel through a magical portal, eventually finding yourselves in a hall called the Skyrim, with unstable magical energies threatening to destroy the ruin. After closing the 5 halls in order to stop the flow of energy, Votary Nalia will destroy the focusing crystal, making the entire central altar itself even more unstable. In order to stabilize it, you'll need to gather a new focusing crystal from down the hall and create your first scribed skill, Wield Soul. Scribed skills are broken down into a total of 4 components: Grimoire, Focus Script, Signature Script, and Affix Script. The Grimoire is the base skill itself, in this case, Wield Soul, which launches a blast of soul magic at your target. Different grimoires give different options for what scripts will be available. Some won't have healing options, others may have shock damage, but not frost or flame damage. Your focus script is best described as the ability type, such as magic damage, elemental damage, physical damage, healing, or stun. The signature script adds a secondary effect, such as damage over time, restoring magicka or stamina, or even adding a healing component in addition to the damage type. Not every signature script will be available for every focus, or even for every grimoire. And finally, Affix Script allows you to add a self buff to the ability, or a debuff to be applied to the enemies that it's cast upon. To craft the skill itself, you'll need the new currency, Luminous Ink, with each script costing 1 ink. So scribing a skill for the first time will always cost 3. With this acting as your tutorial, you're only given 1 of each script type in order to start. Magic damage as your focus, Lingering Torment for signature, which deals magic damage over time, and Breach for the affix, which applies the major breach debuff to your target. The name of the skill will change based on the focus, so in this case, Wield Soul becomes scribed as Magical Soul, and the 3 luminous ink that you need for this will be given to you for free. At this point, you'll have completed the quest, the Second Era of Scribing, and you'll unlock the first of the 5 wings in the Skyrim, the Hall of the Indrik. Following the Fable of the Indrik, you'll travel to Auridon, finding magical runes and solving puzzles in order to gain the favor of the first luminary. The luminaries serve as magical guides who help to further your understanding of scribing. During these quests, you'll make use of the Lens of True Sight, which gives you the ability to see hints of ancient magicka, allowing you to read the annotated versions of the fables, and to dispel magical wards needed in order to continue the quests. After completing the Fable of the Indrik for the very first time, you'll gain Chronicler Ferandil as a new merchant in the Scalarium, who will then sell the remaining grimoires for the Scribable Skills, as well as a few scripts. This will also open up the other named halls, the Netch, the Griffin, and Dragon, to be completed in any order that you see fit. The final unknown hall will only open up after completing these prior wings. At this point, you'll be able to buy most of the grimoires, with the exception of Soulburst, which will be unlocked for purchase after completing the final quest in the Scribing questline. All the grimoires are character-bound, meaning that you won't be able to trade them between alternate characters. Each of the grimoires will cost 50,000 gold, with the exception of Soulburst, which will instead cost only 10,000. The scripts sold by Ferandil are unlocked by completing other wings within the Scalarium. At this point, you'll also gain access to a training hall to give you an easy testing stage for your new abilities. That way, you won't need to leave the Scalarium in order to try them out. The training hall has a total of 3 training dummies, each with 3 million health. Depending on how much gold you have, you may want to start by focusing on the grimoires that you think you're more likely to use. Next to Ferandil is a scamp, who serves as an achievement furnisher for scribing, letting you get the book furnishings for each of the fables, doors for each of the wings, and so on. The required achievements will be listed under the description of each furnishing. Now, let's talk about the other grimoires. With Gold Road's launch, there are a total of 11 scribable skills, 2 abilities that come from Soul Magic, Soulburst and Wield Soul. Wield Soul, which we get as part of the Scribing tutorial quest, and Soulburst, which comes as the final unlock from the questline, which unleashes a powerful blast of soul magic at enemies around you. Torchbearer for the Fighters Guild, in which you conjure a torch and sweep the area in front of you for a total of 3 times. Ulfsield's Contingency for Mages Guild, imbuing yourself with magical runes, which then trigger when you cast any ability, which in turn creates bursts of magicka around you. Trample from Assault under Alliance War, calling your mount to trample enemies in a line from where you summon them. There is a slight cooldown on this one, since you can't call it a second time until the ability's animation ends. This one's a lot of fun because it'll use whatever your assigned mount is. Torchbearer, Ulfsield's Contingency, and Trample will each require rank 5 in the corresponding skill lines in order to be available to you. The remaining 6 grimoires all come from the different weapon skill lines, and for each one of these you'll need rank 25 in the corresponding weapon skill in order to make use of said grimoire. Elemental Explosion for Destruction Staff, flinging a bolt of magic and causing an explosion at the targeted location. Mender's Bond for Restoration Staff, creating a magical tether to a nearby ally, which creates a lifeline between you two. Shield Throw for One-Handed and Shield, which, just as it sounds, lets you throw your shield out before it boomerangs back to you. One of the focus scripts for this lets you make it multi-target instead of the default single target. Smash for Two-Handed, dragging your weapon along the ground before smashing a cone of effect in front of you. Traveling Knife under Dual Wield, throwing an enchanted dagger which then returns it to you, with the ability to hit additional enemies along the way. And finally, Vault, for the bow skill line, firing a burst arrows at your feet before doing a backflip away from the area of effect. As you unlock more scripts, you'll have new combinations that you can try out with each of the grimoires. And if you go back to rescribe an existing skill, it'll only cost you an ink for each script that you change out. Let's say you want to rescribe one of your skills, but you only want to change the damage type. So this would only cost you 1 luminous ink. Now, you might be wondering what it's like to unlock scribing on a 2nd, 3rd, or maybe even an 8th character. Completing the Hall of the Indrik for the very first time will allow you to more quickly unlock the Merchant Ferandil on subsequent characters. For instance, on a 2nd character, you'll unlock Ferandil as a merchant after completing the very first quest, the 2nd era of scribing. Immediately after this, Ferandil will be available in his hall, with the ability to buy any of the items that you own on another character at a reduced price. To me, this serves as a really good compromise, allowing you to quickly gain the skills on a second character, while still having the ability to play the full questline again on alternative characters should you wish to do so. Scripts can be traded across characters on the same account, and they have several different methods of acquisition. Focus scripts can be found from random world drops after completing the Wing of the Griffin. Signature scripts will be unlocked for world drops after completing the Wing of the Dragon, and affix scripts after completing the Wing of the Netch. Completing some of these quests will also unlock account-wide access to purchasing scripts from both Ferandal in the Scalarium and from the Infinite Archive vendors as well. Completing the Wing of the Dragon will also allow you to find some hidden scripts at some of the Mages Guild halls across the game. Others can drop from completing daily Delve quests, daily Mages Guild quests, and in opening PvP rewards of the worthy. Luminous Ink, the new crafting currency needed to scribe, has a chance to drop from enemies after completing the Wing of the Indrik, and a chance to drop from resource nodes after completing the Wing of the Netch. The Plentiful Harvest Champion skill can also award you bonus ink. This video is meant to serve as a bit of a helpful guide and tutorial to help get you on your way to be a scribing master. In its current state, scribed skills don't feel overpowered, but instead they feel as though they'll be good complementary skills to existing builds. You're likely not going to be adding more than 1 or 2 scribed skills to your skill bars at any given time, which is why it might be better to only buy the grimoires that you think are really relevant to the character that you're on. I'm really looking forward to seeing the combinations that players come up with for scribing, and to see what skills people latch onto the most. The team has said that in the future they'd like to add on to scribing with new grimoires, with the possibility of getting class-specific skills as well. But that's gonna be all for this time. As always, thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the Patreon or the YouTube memberships, both of which get access to the Discord server. YouTube members also get access to the channel emotes, which can be used in the comments below. And make sure to check out the streams at twitch.tv/0periodproductions. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.